In July of 1939, two U-boats are sent to Iceland to link up with Gestapo agents in Reykjavik and to go on to Ireland with funds and weapons. They're intercepted later on, and a German naval officer admits to his MI5 captor that a submarine had docked with assistance from Irish fishermen on the south side of Belfast Bay, with a great many explosives from Hamburg, as well as a large sum of cash in £10 notes. So Sean Russell travels back to America to garner further support for the IRA, and leaves the rather erratic and prone to drink Stephen Hayes in charge. And under Hayes's somewhat more explosive, shall we say, leadership, on 6th of February 1940, there are simultaneous bomb attacks in Manchester, Birmingham and London, which are civilian-focused. This rather puts the Nazis off. They think this is not a strategic move. This is simply terror for terror's sake, and a clear indication that the IRA is pursuing more sort of personal grievances rather than attacking the military targets which they wanted them to.
Which is also, I feel like, is quite an interesting perspective that that's something that bothered them, considering the other stuff that they were doing.
Quite. But I think they've always got their eyes on the prize in terms of how can we defeat the British, and a kind of spray of violence that doesn't really
achieve
anything other than just killing civilians is not really is not really going to help them.
Yeah, for sure.
So they send interestingly an ex-circus strongman called Ernst Weber Droll in a little dinghy.
You can picture that one.
Yeah, a great image. With $1,500 in cash, a much more powerful radio transmitter than the previous Marconi, and a message telling the IRA to stop bombing civilians and to return the attacks to purely military and industrial targets. The IRA complies with this request and shows flexibility in its response. It tries another tack, which is to send a plan via their man Oscar Faust to Berlin, and the plan is named Plan Kathleen. It proposes a German invasion of Northern Ireland. Aside from being quite clever in the way in which it mapped out how the forces, once they had landed, would in fact progress through Northern Ireland, it failed utterly to consider the existing British fortifications, and in this regard was hopelessly underbaked and doomed to fail. On the 5th of May 1940, a Heinkel plane is spotted flying over the Irish Republic, piloted by Herman Gortz, who is known as the Flying Spy, with the code name Gilka. He's on a reconnaissance mission to both scope out the terrain and make contact with the IRA. Unfortunately for Gilka, he drops 80 miles south of the border, despite aiming for Northern Ireland, and walks 5 days to meet his handler, still wearing his German uniform.
Minor misalignment there on what he was doing.
He's just a little bit shy of the target there, but he is quite impressive nevertheless that he managed to trek for 5 days with all of his gear, but that he managed not to be detected in his full dress Nazi uniform. But an interesting side note to this is that the Irish, when they're picking their style of uniform in the Second World War, actually opt for quite a Germanic looking uniform. When you look at footage and maybe we can put some up.
Yeah, we'll put a couple of images up
of the Irish soldiers. They do. You wouldn't really, you'd initially think they were Nazi soldiers. It is very Germanic looking. So perhaps you could say that Gortz is kind of lent to kind of cover of darkness in that regard.
Well, yeah, he's not going to be moving around in the middle of the day. Let's be real.
Or if he is, he was sensible enough not to be detected. Anyway, so Gortz, when he finally gets to his handler and looks over Plan Kathleen, he realises it's deeply, deeply flawed, and he thinks he sends back a message saying that the IRA are hopeless dreamers, completely lacking in strategic know-how. The Irish police raid his safe house whilst he is out. They seize Plan Kathleen as well as his belongings. He catches wind of the fact that the police have discovered him, and so escapes. But Plan Kathleen is very much considered dead in the water at this point. It's been discovered. That's the end of that. In its place is a thing called Operation Green or Operation Dove, depending on on who you're reading. In mid-1940, Sean Russell is wined and dined in Brandenburg before witnessing German explosives training in action. He's given 3 months of Abwehr training himself and put up in great style, given the diplomatic privileges of a chauffeur-driven car and a plush villa. Treatment, as we will come to see later on, that the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem also received upon his stay in Nazi Germany during the war. He's briefed on Operation Mainau, which is a kind of pre-plan plan to parachute an agent into Ireland to set the whole thing running. He's introduced to von Ribbentrop, who assigns a man named Edmund Weisenmeyer to oversee the new plan for invasion, again, Operation Green or Dove. And it very much dovetails, no pun intended, with Operation Sea Lion, which, as we all know, is the ultimately unmaterialized but quite scary plan to invade Britain.
Yeah, which obviously would not have really been successful in any universe that we can cook up.
No, the Germans
feel not really.
Yeah. Despite having a very strong, the Luftwaffe being very, very strong and putting up a good fight in the Battle of Britain. Even had they succeeded, the Germans just did not have the naval control, the naval power to be able to successfully launch an amphibious invasion.
To invade and then hold occupation of the UK. So
yeah, quite.
So yeah,
exactly. So anyway, Russell takes this plan. He hops aboard a U-65 submarine, which sets off for Ireland. Although he soon, unfortunately, falls ill. With violent vomiting fits and dies from a burst stomach ulcer. Very unpleasant indeed. Only 100 miles out from County Galway, so he nearly made it home, but didn't quite get there in time. The legend has it that he was wrapped in a swastika flag before being buried at sea. Now, this isn't necessarily proof that he himself was any kind of card-carrying Nazi at this point, merely that it may have been German protocol, probably was, to, when at sea, to wrap them in the colours before sending them off to their watery graves. So, nevertheless, an interesting image. His travelling companion, Frank Ryan, returns to Germany, and the whole Green Dove plan is cancelled. At this point, Stephen Hayes takes over fully as the head of the IRA. And winding back a little bit to February 1940, 119 terrorists have at this point been deported back to Ireland. The IRA Abwehr links have been publicised, and Britons are put on alert. An IRA safe house is established in London, along with links to an IRA Abwehr courier in Brussels for IRA saboteurs. So they're very much aware that the whistle has been blown, and they're trying to keep undercover,
low profile. I mean, I also find it quite interesting that this obviously took place quite early on in the war, when we're thinking about like the conflict kind of opening up in 1939 and kind of how that played out across Western Europe, especially with the annexation of Czechoslovakia, Poland, Benelux, and then France as well. But obviously, we've also got that full kind of frontal assault, full-blown war aspect to it, and then you've got the more shady sabotage kind of aspect to it, which is the same for all sides in the war as well, in every single war. But I do find that quite interesting.
No, it's fascinating. The British government plays down all of this IRA activity so as to dampen alarm in the population, although word has very much got out. Whereas on the other side of the coin, Nazi press plays them up in the Völkische Beobachter to boost German morale.